Have you ever been in a relationship with someone who seemed to care deeply about you 1 minute, and the next minute, disappeared entirely? Perhaps they went silent after you walked away. In fact, if you've ever experienced the sudden and painful silence of a narcissist, you know the feeling of confusion that accompanies it. You're left wondering why someone you once mattered so much to would go from seemingly invested to completely indifferent. What's going on in their mind? Why do narcissists go silent after you walk away? And what does this silence really mean? In today's video, we'll peel back the layers of narcissistic behavior, diving deep into the truth behind the silence you've experienced. We'll uncover the emotional dynamics that drive narcissists to do this, and why it can feel like you've become a ghost in their world. Understanding why narcissists do this can help you heal from the emotional wreckage they often leave behind, and protect yourself from further manipulation in the future. Stick around until the end to discover the profound psychological and emotional reasons for their silence. And make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video with anyone who might benefit from learning more about narcissistic relationships. Before we jump into the core of today's discussion, let's start by reflecting on the confusion you might have felt when you walked away from the narcissist in your life. It's common to expect some kind of reaction or closure, but instead, there was nothing, just complete and utter silence. It's tempting to think that maybe you didn't matter, or that they've simply moved on, but that's not the whole story. Narcissists are complex individuals who thrive on control, validation, and the ability to manipulate others. When you walk away, you disrupt their carefully constructed world. And this disruption often triggers a response that's less about you and more about them. The truth is, the silence they impose isn't a sign that you've been forgotten or dismissed. It's a strategy, a weapon, and a reflection of their emotional immaturity. As we dig into why narcissists go silent after you leave, it's important to understand that this behavior is deeply tied to their inner insecurities and sense of self-worth. Narcissists have fragile egos that they constantly try to protect. They depend on the admiration, validation, and attention they receive from others to feel worthy. The moment you walk away, their self-esteem takes a hit. The silence that follows is often their attempt to regain control over the situation. Rather than showing vulnerability or expressing their hurt, they shut down emotionally. It's their way of avoiding the pain of rejection, while simultaneously trying to maintain their illusion of power. This silence is not a reflection of their indifference to you, but rather an expression of their need to manipulate the situation and keep their ego intact. Now, if you're wondering why this silence seems so permanent or why narcissists rarely come back to explain themselves, you have to consider how their mind works. Narcissists often operate in extremes. Either you're the perfect person in their life, or you're the enemy. Once you walk away, they likely see it as a form of abandonment, which they perceive as a direct attack on their sense of self-worth. For them, it's easier to go silent than to confront their vulnerability or feelings of inadequacy. They don't want to risk facing those emotions, so they choose silence as a form of self-preservation. By going silent, they hope to retain the upper hand, keep the power in the relationship, and maintain the control that gives them a sense of security. Another factor that explains why narcissists go silent after you leave is that they often rely on intermittent reinforcement. This means that they give you just enough attention and affection to keep you hooked, but they never give you the emotional consistency or stability that would allow the relationship to truly thrive. When you walk away, they've lost their source of supply, and their first instinct is to withdraw and lick their wounds in private. They may even feel a sense of superiority, as if you were the one who was weak or incapable of dealing with their behavior. In their minds, this silence is a power move. It's an assertion that they are the ones in control, even if it's only temporary. Now, let's touch on something that's incredibly important to understand. Narcissists are not emotionally mature. Their coping mechanisms are often unhealthy, and their ability to handle conflict is underdeveloped. When you walk away, they don't know how to process the emotions of loss, guilt, or regret like a healthy person would. Instead, they go silent as a defense mechanism. The silence serves as a wall, allowing them to protect themselves from confronting the feelings that might otherwise destabilize their fragile sense of self. In many cases, this silence isn't permanent. Narcissists are creatures of habit, and often come back when they feel that the relationship is still something they can control or benefit from. They may reach out with an apology, an explanation, or even a false promise of change. However, you should be cautious if they return. The silence they imposed on you wasn't about needing time to reflect. It was about manipulating the situation to regain power and control. When they return, it's not necessarily with genuine change in mind. Instead, it's about getting back into your good graces, so they can continue to use you as their emotional supply. If you're left wondering how to protect yourself from the narcissist's silence and eventual return, the key is to recognize the pattern. Narcissists often cycle through periods of idealization, devaluation, and discard. When they go silent after you leave, it's simply part of the discard phase. The best thing you can do is stay firm in your decision to walk away. This will prevent them from having the opportunity to regain control over you emotionally. When they go silent, it's not about you. It's about them trying to maintain their facade of perfection and avoid facing the emotional consequences of their own behavior. Narcissists often act in ways that are deeply self-centered, and it's crucial to understand that they are frequently unaware of the impact their behavior has on others. Their worldview is primarily focused on themselves, which makes it difficult for them to empathize with those around them. This lack of empathy prevents them from recognizing the emotional harm they cause, which can make their silence even more painful. They are unable to see the hurt they inflict, as they don't have the emotional tools to process it. One of the most difficult aspects of dealing with narcissists is their silence after you walk away. For them, silence is often the easiest and most familiar way to cope with uncomfortable situations. They are avoiding the emotional discomfort of confronting their flaws and weaknesses. So instead of engaging or communicating, they retreat inward. This can leave you feeling emotionally stranded, not knowing where you stand, while they remain oblivious to the emotional toll they are causing. It's important to recognize that narcissist silence is not a reflection of you or your actions, but rather a defense mechanism rooted in their own insecurities and need for control. They lack the emotional capacity to engage in healthy, productive communication, and are more focused on protecting themselves from feeling vulnerable. Their inability to process emotions properly leads them to react in ways that seem cold and dismissive, which can be incredibly hurtful. Understanding why narcissists go silent after you walk away can offer valuable insight into the situation and help you process your emotions. It's not about you. It's about their need for power, their fear of facing their own inadequacies, and their inability to handle emotional situations with maturity. By recognizing these patterns, you can begin to detach emotionally from their behavior and shift your focus toward healing and moving forward. It's essential to protect yourself from getting entangled in the toxic cycles narcissists create. While it may take time to break free from their influence, understanding the root of their behavior can help you set healthier boundaries and avoid future emotional harm. Recognizing that their silence is a reflection of their inner struggles, rather than a personal attack, allows you to reclaim your emotional well-being. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this information helpful, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Sharing this knowledge can help others who may be stuck in toxic relationships understand why narcissists behave the way they do. Remember, you deserve to be in relationships that bring you peace, respect, and emotional fulfillment. Stay strong and take care of yourself.